One of the biggest talking points from the India-South Africa Test match came not due to the actual cricketing action, but due to a rather unfortunate slur being aimed at the way of South African skipper Temba Bavuma from India pacer Jasprit Bumrah. Now, whilst obviously the story went viral on social media with a lot of people having a lot of opinions on it, what we didn't get to hear really was anything from the South Africa camp, and truth be told, not much on whether or not any apology, formal or otherwise, had been offered up to the skipper. But after the game ended on day 3, there was actually a moment where Jasprit Bumrah could be seen walking up to Temba and having a few words with him, and it did seem like he was offering some sort of an explanation, apology, or both. It is worth noting, I wasn't a fly on either of their shoulders, so I can't tell you for sure what it is that was being said, but it's fair to say that whatever was being said, Bumrah did manage to put across his point, but I'm not really sure whether Bavuma bought what it is he said, or more importantly, felt in too forgiving a mood at that point in time. Why did I say that? Well, just take a look at these images for yourself. First, you have this image where you can see both of them just having a conversation. And again, I'm no body language expert, but just look at how it is both of them are going. On one hand, you've got Bumrah who's got an arm around Bavuma and is saying something to him. Bavuma, though, doesn't look like he's in any mood to yield. In fact, it gets worse if you look at it from a front angle perspective. Eesh, look at that. Bavuma clearly not in a very forgiving mood, at least till that point in time, because it was mostly Bumrah who was doing the talking and Bavuma was merely listening to what it is that the Indian pacer had to say. Of course, towards the latter stages, it did seem like that there was some sort of a breaking of the ice because Bavuma became a little warmer towards Bumrah, but even the manner in which they shook hands and went off thereafter suggests that there was a point whereby Bavuma probably felt he was just being the bigger man by being accepting of whatever it was that Bumrah was saying. It was a long exchange and was captured by the broadcasters as well. And more often than not, what you could see from the broadcasters was that Bumrah had his arm around Bavuma and that Bavuma was for long periods of time actually avoiding eye contact. It was only when Bumrah kept talking that Bavuma eventually reached a point where he was actually acknowledging the Indian pacer and let's say actually talking back to him. There wasn't really much thereafter, and whilst it seems more a case of, and again I will say this with some this is purely speculative on my part, but it does feel like it was less a case of Bavuma being forgiving, or as a lot of people on social media are saying, that they talked out their differences and made things up. It didn't seem like that. It more felt a case of Bavuma saying that I will forgive you, but I haven't forgotten this. In fact, if you need to see just how much this win meant to Bavuma, you could see the way he was celebrating, and in the course of the celebration, at one point he straight just walked past Bumrah and the other Indian batter at that point, who was of course Siraj. So there definitely seemed to be a point where this cut through to Bavuma and he was not in a very forgiving mood. Although, as I said, as it went on, he did seem to be in a slightly better mood, but it did seem like there was a lot of explaining coming the way from Bumrah. And whilst it seems like things are settled, it does underscore a very awkward episode that took place, and one that, truth be told, should involve the Indian pacer having to do better in that case. There was no need for him to be caught on stump mic saying what he was saying, and there's no need for him to be saying something like that even in private. It was an unacceptable comment, and I really hope that there was an apology shared and that there's a little bit of peace there, because it was just not on what was done. In fact, it was Bavuma who ended up standing tall and having the last laugh. Now, what are your thoughts on the images that you've seen? Let us know that in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, X and Facebook, and stay tuned for more such updates from the world of sport.